All right, we're recording here. My name is Jeremy Nichols. I'm the Climate and Energy Program Director for WildEarth Guardians, and I have with me here.
Hi, I'm Samantha Ruscavage-Barz, Managing Attorney for WildEarth Guardians.
And so this is the latest in a series of interviews that I'm conducting with my fellow WildEarth Guardians coworkers. And last week, I interviewed Lindsay Laris, our Wildlife Program Director. And today, I thought I would get Samantha in on the conversation. Sam's doing amazing work, legal work for WildEarth Guardians. And, you know, a lot of people see WildEarth Guardians as a very legally oriented group, even though we have myriad strategies and tactics that we undertake to help save the world, help protect critters, help save the climate. But our legal work is definitely core to how we show up and how we try to change things, how we advance change, how we confront the destruction of our natural world and try to turn it around and make it better. So Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, given that I'm stuck at home and can't really go anywhere. But all things considered, I'm doing fine.
Pretty good, yeah. You got your dog there with you, right?
Yep.
That's good. And the husband, of course, too, right?
Yes, of course.
So you've got some good company. Well, that's great. That's great. You know, I know a lot of people having a tougher time, but we're making the most out of it, all doing our part, and good for you for staying home. I know I am too. It's been made easier the last couple of days because we've had some nice spring snowstorms come in. So easier to stay in when it's snowy and wintry outside, but we'll see how long it lasts. So Sam, what are you working on these days?
I am working on a number of things. I should start by saying that we have, in addition to myself, we have 3 staff attorneys at WildEarth Guardians, and each of us works and litigates for a particular program. So until recently, I was the Climate and Energy Program's litigating attorney,
Right.
but now I've shifted over to being the Wild Rivers Program's litigating attorney, in addition to my job as the head of Guardians legal team.
Yeah, so you have quite an army of attorneys that you're managing right now, and our legal team. It is interesting how you know, each staff attorney kind of serves or dedicates most of their time to one or more of the programs. And so, like you said, you were doing a lot of climate and energy work before. Now, Daniel Timmons, who works for you, one of our newest staff attorneys, he's handling a lot of the climate and energy work. Although, thankfully, I still have you doing some of my climate and energy work.
That's right. There's a lot of it to do. So I don't foresee that I'm going to give up doing climate and energy litigation anytime soon.
So, you know, your work, I mean, it truly is in the trenches litigating, like filing briefs, going to arguments, strategizing litigation strategy, you know, trying to leverage the law and the power of the law to try to get some good outcomes here. I mean, how would you describe your work in the trenches? I mean, what's it like?
Well, I think it's pretty exciting because it really, in a lot of cases, takes litigation to force federal and even state agencies to follow the law and to do what they're supposed to be doing to protect natural and cultural resources and human communities. So the litigation is not simply an academic exercise. It's sometimes the last resort after we've tried to get agencies to do the right thing, to actually force agencies to do the right thing using the court system. So there's that piece of it, is litigation can be the last resort to really try to affect some positive and meaningful change for the environment and for communities. At other times, litigation is more like the hammer. We're proactively trying to move the law in a certain direction to protect the environment and to protect community health and all of those things that are such an important part of Guardian's mission. And so it's really fulfilling and meaningful for me personally to be able to do that kind of work and to be able to be scrappy and press the law and try to really get some meaningful change on the ground.
Yeah, and just to emphasize the scrappiness, which we're really proud of, we get a lot of good legal work done without a lot of resources. You know, we're not a high-powered law firm. We have well-qualified attorneys, but they're certainly not getting paid, you know, big law firm salaries. They're really making a sacrifice. It's about commitment to the issues and to making the world a better place. And like you, Sam, you don't have a paralegal working for you. You don't have assistants or secretaries. It's really all on your shoulders. And just want to emphasize to people that there's not a lot of people doing legal work that do it that way, and it's a reflection of um, again, scrappiness, and our ability to do a lot with not a lot of resources. We have enough resources. We'd like more, of course. It would be nice for you to have a paralegal, right?
Right.
That's something you've asked for, and hopefully we can make that happen at some point. But nevertheless, we're still getting a lot of great legal work done and commanding a lot of respect and attention, because the truth is, these aren't frivolous lawsuits that we file. These are legitimate, and we frequently win. We certainly have some losses, and anytime you go into the courtroom, you take risks. But like in the last couple of years or so, especially within the climate energy program, I mean, we've just had some major successes. And Sam, you've been a huge part of those. I mean, it's really a lot of your heavy lifting that has helped us prevail. I mean, last year, the case that struck me was our 10th Circuit win. So there's a U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit. It's very, very hard to win appeals. You know, you lost at the district court, and it's usually a pretty good sign that your case is a stinker. And so when you file an appeal, getting the appeals court to overturn them is difficult. But we did it last year. We did it around drilling and fracking in the greater Chaco region. So we had sued over a ton of drilling approvals in that region of Northwest New Mexico. It's an amazing landscape where the ancestral Puebloan civilization is. And we sued over the failure of the U.S. Bureau of Land Management to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act, and the 10th Circuit agreed with us. Now, Sam, that case was actually, it's interesting, because I know that case was most important for you, not just because of the legal significance of it, and of course, getting a win before the 10th Circuit, but you're actually you have a PhD in archaeology, and you actually are very familiar with the underlying cultural issues in the greater Chaco region. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, in my previous career, I was an archaeologist, and I had been an archaeologist for nearly 20 years before I switched careers to become an attorney. And so I did my doctoral research in New Mexico, dealing with prehistoric native cultures in the Rio Grande area, and also a little bit in the area of Chaco Canyon. So I was familiar with the deep history in that area, with the history, and also with the contemporary native groups that call that area home and that have important cultural connections to that area. And so seeing that area just fill up with this kind of massive industrial scale oil and gas development that was just encroaching closer and closer to these important cultural sites like Chaco Canyon and the outlying village sites was a terrible thing to see, because it's not just about preserving a single archaeological site in an area and just having it be surrounded by oil and gas development. That's not the goal of historic preservation. That's not what the native groups in those areas wanted to see. It was really about the larger landscape and the patterns of past cultures that still exist on those landscapes. And that was just something that the Bureau of Land Management was not taking into account. It was approving new oil and gas leases and new drilling. And all the agency really did is make sure that it wasn't doing any of that kind of development right on any single archaeological site. But the agency was not looking broader, was not thinking about the landscape patterns that were there and that should be preserved, and was just going full bore with development. And so for me, it was really satisfying to be involved in that case, to press the agency to take those kinds of impacts into account, and then to have a court say, you can't just do all of this development without thinking about the impacts that fracking is having on the landscape.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, being able to bring all that, previous academic experience and scientific experience to the law. I mean, it's made you, a very effective attorney for our cause, for the environment, and for protecting public lands and trying to safeguard the cultural integrity of a place like Greater Chaco. I know that win was particularly gratifying because you did the argument. You actually stood up before the panel of judges at the 10th Circuit and made our case. And I know that's got to feel pretty good when you give a good argument, you don't know how it's going to go, and then the ruling comes down and you did it. So that was pretty cool.
It felt great. That case was a long road. We brought it in 2015.
Yeah.
And we won it in 2019. So it felt great.
Yeah, and that's crazy too, because we do win, but we do lose, and sometimes those losses can be pretty debilitating. I mean, it's really hard on your psyche. It's hard on your soul. And yet you persevered together with our partners. We filed suit, and let me see if I get this succession right. So we filed suit, and then we filed for an injunction. The injunction got denied. We appealed that. The appeal got denied. Then the ultimate case, we lost it, and then we appealed it there. So we basically lost 3 times, and then on the 4th time, won. So, and that's really cool too. I mean, it's a testament to your perseverance, but also Guardian's approach to this legal work, which is we don't give up. And certainly we know when we run the limits, when we've exhausted our opportunity to make change using the law, but we also, try to be smart about being persistent and not letting losses set us back. We're always trying to find ways to keep the ball moving, and sometimes you take your hits, but at the end of the day you win the bout. So, and that's what happened there, which is really cool.
Yeah, you have to hang in there, and you have to have a lot of patience.
Yes, it's very, very true. And especially with the law too, it sometimes does move slow. The wheels of justice do move slowly, but more often than not, it's well worth the wait. So just want to take a step back. Curious, what brought you to Guardians in the first place, Sam?
Well, coming to Guardians was the vision that I had when I decided to switch careers and go to law school, because I really wanted to be an advocate for cultural and natural resources and community health and all of those things that are part of Guardian's mission. So I went to law school to end up at a place like Guardians, and I'm really grateful that it happened. I've been with Guardians for upwards of 10 years now. I love the work. Like you said, we've had a lot of successes. We've had losses as well, but the successes make it all worth it. And It takes a lot of losses to get on a role where you're having suddenly all of these successes after you've been pushing the law in a certain way, and then you finally get there. So I have always been, Guardian's vision and values are my personal vision and values. So it's a perfect fit for me.
Yeah. And it's been now 10 years, right? A little more that you've been with Guardians. And, when I started 11 years ago in 2008, I was actually working with Sam. She was an attorney who was working with another firm that was working with Guardians. And so the instant I came on to Guardian, Sam and I were partnering and collaborating. So it's been really cool to continue to maintain that working relationship and to, work together on building new successes. And of course, you're now in a position where you're managing a team of attorneys. And I remember when we first started, you were, just an attorney doing the work and trying to keep things moving. So it's been really cool just to see the, I guess our growth in being advocates and growth in being good at what we do. So it's been really cool. So I try to wrap up with a couple of questions with everybody, and they're pandemic related because that's the theme right now. Obviously, we're all hunkered down because of the COVID health crisis. So Sam, the pandemic is obviously front and center for so many people. For a lot of people, it's really, it's day to day, it's survival, both literally and emotionally, and in many other ways. Um, can you explain, why does your work remain important in the face of this pandemic and in the face of this unprecedented crisis?
Well, one of the things that we've seen with this pandemic is the importance of being able to escape your home and go outside, to go into nature as a way to relieve some of that stress, because we can't do the things that a lot of us were doing, like going to the gym, going to yoga class, going to exercise. Those things are all available online now for many people, but just to really be able to go outside and experience nature and find these special places that can continue to inspire us and relieve the stress of day-to-day life is important. And along with that, people are also realizing that the protection of these places is also important. So there's the benefit of having the outdoors and nature and the wild to be able to go to as a respite, but also in the long term, we're also learning that the kinds of things that Guardians does, for example, trying to cut back on air pollution and hold polluters accountable for their air pollution, is increasingly important, because where they are seeing hotspots with the coronavirus are in places where people's respiratory health was already compromised because of their daily exposure to pollution. And so that just really reinforces the fact that the ecosystem and the kind of human created system are very much connected and intertwined. And having a major effect in one is going to have a major effect in the other.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see, just people kind of waking up to the fact that, like, wow, we can have a much cleaner, safer, healthier environment, and that's possible. And I think a lot of people right now are thinking, well, how do we make sure this lasts as long as we can make it last? And it's really cool to see people waking up. So that's cool. But at the same time, we're not able to, enjoy the outdoor world like many of us used to. And so I know that there's that yearning, and that yearning, we hope, will, continue to develop into a new generation of public lands lovers, of clean air lovers, clean water lovers. That's the hope anyway. We'll see how this all plays out. Um, I guess along those lines, Sam, what's keeping you inspired or optimistic in this time of crisis?
Well, I'm inspired by people like you, by my coworkers and other Guardian staff who are just continuing to fight the fight and make progress and even have some successes in this time. I'm also really inspired by Guardians members and followers who are tuning into the various webcasts and webinars and social media events that we're having, and really sending the strong message that the work that we do at Guardians is still important, and maybe now more than ever, because you couple what we do, which has always been holding federal agencies accountable, with what those agencies are doing now, which is trying to take advantage of this time where people are concerned with their health, when their kids are at home, they're not fully tuned into work, and the agencies are trying to roll back the very environmental protections that we need right now. So knowing that people out there are waking up, like you said, and recognizing that these things are all important. And it's not an either or. Either we focus on dealing with the pandemic, or we focus on these other non-pandemic things, that they're connected. And we need to make sure that we continue to hold the government and this administration accountable for what it's doing and what it's trying to sweep under the rug and get past, while people are distracted with other things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I just want to echo that. The inspiration that comes from people who are continuing to engage with us and support us, our members and supporters. And if you're not a member or supporter, please consider joining today. The work we do to safeguard our environment, it is part and parcel with doing everybody doing their part to try to work through this pandemic and to stay healthy and to help create a better future for us all. So, you know, if you haven't checked us out, we're at wildearthguardians.org, and there's you can sign up for our email list there, so please do that. Please consider giving a donation right now. I know that we're all scraping by for the moment. I would say that environmental advocates it's incredibly important to have them right now. And I know, you know, certainly you don't need to give a lot, but any amount helps so much. So we so appreciate that. And also, you know, if you really want to get engaged and really stay tuned to what's going on, what WildEarth Guardians is up to, as well as other organizations, follow us on social media. It's at WildEarth Guard on Twitter and at WildEarth Guardians on Instagram and Facebook. So check us out. Also, feel free to check out the Climate and Energy Program. It's at Climate West on all platforms. And it's a great way to just stay plugged in, stay tuned to what's going on. As Sam mentioned, we're doing a lot of virtual engagement right now, doing webinars, having online panel discussions, doing these interviews and sharing them with the public. And stay tuned. Go to our website, go to the events page, and you'll see what's in the queue for future online engagement and opportunities to make a difference still, even from your own home. So these are, you know, difficult times, but at the same time, they are full of possibility, and we're doing everything we can to seize those opportunities. And I know WildEarth Guardians couldn't do it without a very competent and committed legal staff. So thank you for all you do, Sam. We really appreciate it. And if people want to reach out to us, have any questions, feel free to contact us. Our contact information is on the WildEarth Guardians website. Sam, I always end with one more question. Is there something I should have asked you that I didn't?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I covered everything, and I just want to reiterate that if people want to be involved with Guardians, to check out all of these digital events that we're doing and follow up with us. We're always here, and we're always happy to hear from people.
Cool. Well, thanks. Tune in next time. Stay tuned. And thanks, Sam, for your time.
Thank you, Jerry.
Talk to you later. See ya.
Bye.